Okay. Hey, Kimleigh, we're going live any second now. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
I'm giving a shout out to my amazing mom, Betty Lou Smith, Betty Lou Rogers, Betty Lou. I just got to spend almost 3 weeks with her over the holidays. And dang it, when you just look at the person that birthed you and raised you, and you're so honored to be their child. And that is my mother.
I
For
love
those of you
that.
out there who have met her, you guys know that mama is the bomb. And I'm just, I love her so much.
Excellent. Mom, here we go. Hey guys, we are up today with the amazing Kimleigh Smith. Kimleigh is an actress, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning solo performer, sex-positive, sexual assault awareness advocate, speaker, founder of the Embrace Your Cape philosophy, which I love. She's a singer, dancer, creator, director, producer, superhero, queen, life transformer, life coach, and lifelong cheerleader. Kimleigh,
Go, T, go.
I was going to say I could go on and on. I had to cut it short because I could go on for
Cut
another
it.
minute and a half about you. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here today.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's so good to see you again. So good to be back here on your show, just talking about how life is and how we live in that life, right?
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to talk about one tiny aspect of what you do today, but I do not believe that there is anything you do that is tiny. You go all in on pretty much everything. So instead of saying we're going to talk about one little tiny aspect of what you do, we're going to talk about your philosophy of own your story, own your life. And I love that. So what does that mean? Tell me about own your story, own your life.
What's so funny, I had donated a kidney to my cousin, and I remember sitting in the bed after surgery with all of these people sitting around, the doctors, the nurses, cousins, aunts, uncles, and I'm just storytelling. And I'm going on and on. I'm throwing people on the bus. Like, I remember my aunt had done some crazy stuff. Like, I'm just telling the truth, right? And I remember after I woke up from there, somebody said, "You should write a one woman show." And I was like, "Man, I am an actor. I am not a writer. That is not what I do." And cut to many years later, I kept hearing that in my brain. You should write a one woman show. You should write a one woman show. But I didn't understand what that meant. I think the only one woman show at the time that I'd seen was Whoopi Goldberg's one woman show that changed my life forever. And as I started to write it, I was just like, oh, all of this is garbage. It's absolute garbage. And then one day I remember waking up from a dream, and it came to me that this was the story that I was meant to tell, the stuff that I had hidden, that I was ashamed of, that I was afraid of, that I felt if anybody saw or heard any of these parts of my story, they would think I was a loser or gross or a victim or what have you. And that is when I realized that the only way that I was going to free myself from all of this stuff that I felt made me yucky, was by owning that and taking ownership of that. Own your story, own your life came out of my need to tell my truth, my guts instinct, my heart's instincts, God, universe, all of their gifts were like, this is where you're supposed to do. Tell your story, free your life. And that is how Own Your Story, Own Your Life came out. It was the person I am today is not the person I was, though my characteristics are there, right? We have all of our stuff, but fear and shame and doubt and insecurity make us a smaller version of ourselves. So the version of me was still here, but the inside of me hated myself so much. So to be able to tell this story to you right now, to really take ownership of who I am and what I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that is what Own Your Story, Own Your Life is.
Now, when you tell that story out loud and you're talking to people about your story, do you or did you at the time worry that people were going to judge you and say, like, well, yeah, can't be part of that person? Or did they
Oh,
embrace you
yeah.
because of it?
Oh, yeah. I thought if anybody knew that I was gang raped, they would think I was trash.
Mhm.
I thought my whole, after being gang raped, I had repressed it for 8 years. And coming out of that, all I did was self-destruct, and especially in relationships with men. And I couldn't understand what was going on until I really realized that what happened to me didn't define who I am. It was just a part of my life's journey, right? It's a part of my story, right? Everything in life is a story. We tell the story about our childhood. Your sister, if you have siblings, they'll see things differently than you did. And we all have different ways of telling the stories of our life, right? You think of history books. History books are just stories of life. The Bible, it's stories of life. And once you realize that everything that we do is our story that we get to leave behind. You know, some people call it a legacy. I call it your story. If you had the perfect book to write, it would be your book and what you went through. So, yes, I feared that people would judge me. I almost threw up before I got on stage for the first time to tell this story. And then afterwards, it was standing ovation. It was people crying. It was people laughing. It was people understanding what I went through. And that was life changing because I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only person that had fear, doubt, and shame in my life. And I realized that everybody has it. It doesn't make me a monster. It
Why do
makes
you
me
think it
human.
is it why do you think people, I guess the word is, why do they think they hide these things from everyone else? What's the Now that you've opened up about it,
Hmm.
what's the difference between, like having hidden it so long and then opening up and telling people?
The hiding is what shrinks you, right? There's something about my company called Embrace Your Cape, which is, every great superhero has an origin story and it's always very traumatic and tragic. And in the years of me helping people write their shows, directing shows, helping people really own themselves and their stories, I started to realize that we all have these beautiful capes that are supposed to fly behind us, and those capes are made up of everything that we are. And when your cape is not floating, it is wrapped up around your neck, choking you, right?
Mhm.
If you're not owning your story, doesn't mean, look, I tell my story in a public forum on stage across the world. That is my choice. But you don't have to go that big to really own your story. Your ownership of your story is being able to freely talk about all of the things in your life without fear, doubt, shame, or judgment of yourself, right? Most of us judge ourselves more harshly than any other human would ever do, right? Most of us are angry at ourselves. But the truth is as long as you're hiding it, you're hidden, right? Why would we have shame over the things that happen in our lives? They, Me being gang raped wasn't my fault. I was the one that created that, but it is a part of my story and I wouldn't change it. Now that I'm a healthy, healed, evolved human, I am not perfect, but I'm healthy and healed. So even if I mess up, I'm able to look at myself and go, ooh, okay, I see where that's coming from. And I can understand where it's coming from. But you can't fully understand yourself if you don't fully own yourself, right? If you're hiding off little bits of yourself, you can't really be full.
So now that you've actually opened up and you understand who you are and you're telling the story to other people, how has that changed the way you look at like other things that people may say, is she going to do this? Is it worth doing? Is she going to hide from this? How do you think about those things now?
It's the one thing, and again, I am a coach and a director and a creator, and I work individually with people for them to really take ownership of themselves. And I always say when I start any session, I will never judge you because I've probably done something worse. Right? So that was it. I was like, I'm never going to judge you because I am sure I've done something equally as bad or worse. And so it's given me compassion and empathy and understanding and a sense of non-judgment that is overpowering. My only sadness is when I'm working with somebody and they're not willing to go all the way there. It is so frustrating for me because I know what that freedom is. I know what it felt like to be incapable of telling my truth. And now it's like, oh my gosh, it's one of those things that really allows me to be full and free and alive. And when I see somebody step into their power, step into their truth, and truly take ownership of their life and their story, it's like, it's better than, it's better than the best chocolate mousse you've ever had, right? To really see life come to fruition, and to really see somebody step into their power. I am watching a group of people that I work with literally fly with their capes, and there was moments in their lives that they weren't flying. And for me, that's where I get my greatest satisfaction, is to really watch people embrace their cape.
Okay, so there's this thing. So everyone's got something they're hiding. Most people, I would say, except for maybe
Yeah.
Jesus or somebody. Okay, now once you put it out there, you can't take it back.
Nope.
So how do you know? How do you convince somebody or explain to somebody, if you just put it out there, if you just let it go, it's going to be okay, and they're thinking like, nope, it's not going to be okay. How do you explain that to them? Because there's no takebacks.
There's no do-overs, there's no take-backs. It's interesting. I don't think I actually ever have to do the full explanation, because in working with me, in being in that presence of freedom, we hope to inspire others to do the same, right? So my life and my freedom of being able to speak is helping other people be inspired to tell their truth, right? So when somebody's stubborn, I just keep forging forward and allowing them to own themselves, even when they're fearful, because eventually the universe is going to open up and they're going to step into that, and it's going to be like, oh my God, Kimleigh was right. She said, the minute I do this, it's going to be amazing. And I feel like my gift is to open the door, right? And the universe gift is to pull them through, right? I just open the door and show them the light, right? And the universe does the rest. If you show up and you do my process, it is almost impossible for you not to go through unless you just say no. And I have worked with people that have just said no and have walked away, and to this day still haven't owned their life. And that is okay, right? I am here to facilitate those that are willing to take that journey and go to the other side. And again, this is the world free choice, right? Not everybody's going to choose to say yes.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because my goal isn't for the people that aren't willing to do it. My goal is the people that are willing to do it, right?
So
We can,
let me
like
ask you
your
this
show.
then. Yeah.
Ooh,
Let me ask you this then. So now that you have taken step 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, it's, what is it that scares you, or is there anything anymore that just frightens you to do, or is it like, are you
Well, it's
open to doing
interesting
new things?
because every level that you reach, right? So every time you up level, there's more depth that you have to go to, right?
Yeah.
More things are excavated out of your soul. So that stuff I talked about before, it's super, super easy. But because of talking about this stuff, I realized that I had, I'll tell you this because it just got added to my show in 2019. It's, not my father, this is going to sound crazy, but my father passed away, and I know he meant this with love, so please know I'm prefacing that with that. My father said, you're never going to be loved and nobody will ever love you. Now, I know on his deathbed, he was really, now that I am conscious and clear, I know he was worried, and that was his way of telling me he's worried for me, that I will never be loved. But my biggest fear is that I will never have a partner that is mine for life, and that I am theirs for life, and that we can coexist. And that came out of being raped, never feeling worthy, only feeling like men wanted to have sex with me, and that was all I was worthy of. And so that is my biggest fear. Now, consciously, I know that that is not true, but my fear believes it to be true. And so that is what I am working on now, but I wouldn't have been able to work on that if I hadn't done the work on everything else, right?
Yes.
You think of Oprah, you think of all of these great people. It's not that they're perfect. It just means that they were able to get through enough of their stuff to let them be elevated. Now, Do they still have issues and they still have fears? Of course they do, but they do not let the fear hold them back. I do not let the fear of anything hold me back. Even while I'm in it, I'm still going to move forward. Is it easy? No, but life, the true ownership of who you are is acting in spite of fear, because we're always going to have fear. Now, the stuff I used to be afraid of, not even afraid of at all. But there's new stuff because we're constantly growing, changing, and evolving.
So in that case, does it ever end? Do you ever get to the point where it's like, I'm good?
Yeah, I think that it's not that you get to a point that you're good. You just get to the point that the things that would trigger you, right? The things that would scare you, it hits you, but your ability to transform past it is quicker. Years ago, if a man had treated me poorly, it would be years before I could let go of that pain. Now, a couple of months, you know what I mean? Couple of days, couple of minutes, couple of hours, right? Your ability to transition past your fear is quicker. So yes, will there always be something? Will people always offend you? Will somebody let you down? That's life. Of course they will. But your ability to not let it affect and change you becomes quicker and easier and less dramatic, right? When we're young and you have your first heartbreak, you're like, oh my God, I'm done, life, why me? And now it's like, okay, that person wasn't for me. I'm going to be sad for a couple of days and then I'm going to move on. Or I'm going to be sad, because when you're not evolved, all of that stuff actually is reflecting back on you, but nothing anybody does to you is about you. And
Okay.
once you realize that, you're so free and so alive and so good now. Good. I think it's just being able to process in a positive, honest way. I think we should shed our old, right? In
Yeah.
order for us to elevate, we have to mourn the loss of our old version and the old things that worked for us and move forward. Our processing to mourn the old and move into the new is so much quicker once you own your shit. Ooh, I
Yeah.
said shit, but you know
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah, I mean, that's good. I will tell you, there are people listening right now, and the reason I know this is because I'm listening to you right now, and I'm saying, like, give me the secret. What's the secret I need to do to open up? What's my first step if I'm going to work with Kimleigh, or if I'm going to work on my own? What is it that I have to do first to open up?
Your first step is honesty.
Mm.
If you're willing to honestly look at yourself, believe me, there's still moments in my life right now that I'm like, oh, Kimleigh, dang, you're acting like you're 12 again. And it's okay, because I can see myself. That's why I say own your good, your bad, and your ugly, and you're beautiful, because we're all human. We're always, the harder we love, the harder it is for us to, I guess it's the harder it is for us to take those losses, because now we're loving from a conscious, beautiful place. And
Mhm.
so the cost of that loss is so much bigger. When you're young, it's not as deep, right? We don't get the depth of it. So our loving ourselves to the depths that we're able to love ourselves, right? When we're having communication with humans, we're
Yes.
looking in their eyes. But what we don't do as humans for ourselves is look in our own eyes and see our souls, right? We're willing, like you said, we're willing to give to others. But if you can't give the same love to yourself, how can you be totally successful? How can you be totally free? How can you be totally loved? How can you have deep, meaningful, real relationships if you don't even have a deep, meaningful relationship with yourself? Like, you're willing to listen to our stuff, but are you willing to really look at you? Even the bad parts of you. Look, like I say, I am not perfect and I
Yeah.
don't pretend to be perfect. Everybody I work with, I go, look, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying these things to you because I've never been there. I'm saying these things to you because I have been there. And if you cannot be honest with yourself, if you cannot, oh, I cry, I do this thing, and I'll do it with you. It's called the mirror exercise. If
Okay.
you cannot look at yourself in the eyes, not your nose, not your face, not your eyes, in your eyes, and see your soul and say, I love you, then you are up for a bad, bad experience. I think it took me 3 solid weeks to not cry in the first 5 seconds of me looking into my own soul, because I hated myself so much that I felt so unworthy. I could give goodness to everybody else but myself. And when I finally was able to look in the mirror and have a full-on conversation with myself, that's when my life changed.
Yeah,
So
we're not going to do
I'll
that
leave you guys
exercise
with
right
this.
now because, yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, no, I have to finish the show and I don't want to end up just tearing up and like, I can't do it now. So I hear you. We are going to work together.
Yeah, we are definitely going to work together. And for you guys out there that are listening, challenge yourself. What are you hiding from the world? Now, look, unless you're a serial killer, which I hope you're not,
Right.
most of the stuff that you are afraid to share aren't really as big as you think they are. I thought that if I ever told anybody that I was a gang rape victim, that I was worthless. Well, it turns out 1 of 4 people in the world are gang rape, you know what I mean, are rape victims. So I was not alone, right? Anything that you are hiding, somebody else is experiencing. And the reason I say own your story, own your life, tell your story is so that you can inspire those people that have the same stuff that you're going through to become brave enough to own their stories and own their lives, to really be their own superheroes, which doesn't mean you're jumping out of windows and flying. It means you're owning that cape. You're not letting it choke you, but you're letting it fly behind you without shame of your own self, without judgment of your own self. So I say that. Go bold. Embrace your cape. Be all that you can be. And I promise you, everybody will embrace you.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. I can't wait until I put together my own show and I'm out
I
there being able
know.
to tell it. And who knows, maybe we'll premiere parts of it here on this, and you're going to be my coach, and you'll host that
Yeah.
one and say, "Hey, this is Michael J. This is his
Yeah,
show."
we'll switch sides. But Michael, I am so honored to be working with you. I'm so honored to be here speaking with you. I hope you get to come March 18th to see my show at the Whitefire Theater and kind of hear and see what I'm bringing to life in a live version, because it was a gift from the universe. I speak of it as a gift from the universe because that gift changed my life forever.
Let's figure out how to make that happen. We want everyone to stay in touch with you for sure. You're on
Yes, yes,
Instagram,
yes.
Twitter, Facebook at Totally Kimleigh. And everyone who's listening, you want to get in touch with Kimleigh, that's the way to do it right there. I have loved talking with you. We're going to keep doing this in just a few minutes in the green room. So,
Yes, yes, yes. Reach out. I am an open book and I will never turn anybody away unless you're gross.
unless you're gross, there you go.
Unless you're gross. Don't be gross. Be normal. No, just kidding. Not normal, but abnormal. But whatever those things are, be you. Be all you.
Awesome. No serial killers, though. All
No
right.
serial killers and no rape. Yeah, no,
Kimleigh,
we don't
thank
need any
you
of that.
very much for being on. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll catch you in the future. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, sweetheart. Much love. Much love. Happy New Year, everyone.